usually what I do is I'll ask the question and then like it's just natural. Yeah, you're good. You're good. And I'll say it again too. Yeah, yeah. You're right. Yeah. Just a conversation. Other people just happen to be listening. Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to the Vapa Center. My name is Shalise. Yeah, my name is Shalise Meikle. Today we're celebrating our second anniversary, Vapaversary. Thank you, thank you. Yes, thank you, thank you. Coming out. Right now we're about to get into our artist talk. The reason it's plural is because there's more than one artist on the stand. It's not artist talk, it's artist talk. um, but some of the most important questions that we're going to be answering today is about to happen. I need you all to state your name, your pronoun, and most importantly, what your favorite color is.
Get the ladies first.
My name is Meredith Connolly. I am she, her, and I am not answering the favorite color because it's just too hard. It's so dependent on mood. I do wear mostly black. Does that count? Like using lighting, I don't know.
Oh, that's a good point, specifically because of your medium. Yeah, it's like, no,
I
dude,
just
it's light.
disappear.
Yeah. Fair. Nice.
I'm Ian McCormick. About 51% of Super Dafros over here. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm gonna go with white. The whole like all the colors or something. It's just um, whatever color is in front of me first, at the moment. So we're good.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Liss. My pronouns are she, hers, and similar to these other light artists, I don't have a favorite color. I'm also an art teacher, and I my students would also ask me what my favorite color was, and I never had an answer, so they made me choose one time. And I think I'm going with blue, or different shades of blue. Blue as colors and light um, are calming, and my eyes are blue, but I really don't. Other than that, I don't have.
So interesting, like all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, and it wasn't
Hang,
even
hang, hang on
until
for a second. Production adjustment. If you can pull your mics closer, it'll pick up better at home. There we go.
excellent.
Sorry about that.
Just
Better. I
much.
keep wanting to like read it.
Yeah.
You know,
But
ASMR.
I'm nervous. I'm
the,
also
the closer the
yelling.
better.
Okay.
Mhm.
Excellent. Good to know. Word. Yeah, it wasn't until when you mentioned about light, I was like, oh, that's right. Like you all use your mediums very differently. To get into that, for those that don't automatically already know who you are, would you give us like a 2-second pitch of like what you use and how you use it, and then we'll obviously get into deeper with that. Yeah.
The first thing. So with my work, what I use so many different materials. Mostly, when it comes to light work, I am a projection artist, and I like to use projection. I like to projection map. I sort of taught myself how to projection map, and I like to project on sculptures. So when it comes to sculpture, I build sculptures out of many things: fabric, foam, wood, uh, and paintings too, like murals. And I like to project on those. And I think when it comes to projection, it can bring things like sculptures and murals to life and bring it some energy. So that's what I like to use when it comes to light.
Um, Most of my mediums are dead dinosaurs, reprocessed. Lots of 3D printing, lots of digital fabrication. Uh, as far as light goes, LEDs. Um, you know, they're getting cheaper to find every day, and you can do a lot with them.
Um, I'm inspired by science, nature, and technology. So that's really the foundation for how I create and use light. Uh, I use a lot of tech processes where I think you and I would probably nerd or learn how. I also use non-traditional materials, a lot of like plastics, polycarbonate, resins, things like that. Um, and a lot of my work really starts from me walking and being outside. So there's this interesting kind of conversation from starting with something really natural, using these tech and industrial fabrication processes, and then returning it back to nature. So a lot of my work has been reinstalled outside. in those spaces that inspire it. So I feel like that's a very cyclic and interesting conversation and something that I just continue exploring.
No, and because that's where I've always seen your work is outside in nature, so it's nice to know the full story. Um, no, for the record, I've been super pumped about this individual artist talk. June of last when Ian first signed up. He is the first artist to sign up for artist talk.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
thank you,
remember
thank
that.
you.
That was fun.
Yes, thank you.
We had a good afternoon that day.
Yeah, that's a good afternoon. No, so when Ian signed up, then Rebecca very shortly signed up, and I was like, yay.
Oh,
I gotta contact Meredith. Yeah, yeah.
I really okay. This is really dumb, but everything worked out really well. We jumping the gun a little bit.
Get it.
We just had a show open last night, and you
Yeah.
know we were we were originally scheduled to talk back in like October, and then you're like, oh, that's not gonna work out. Can we like push it back? And then like 2 or 3 months ago, or like when I early January, I was like, hey, Shalise, let's do it on March 1st after this thing opens. She's like, yeah, that's when we're doing it. Like, I've already got you on the calendar, don't you know? So this worked out really nicely. So go see our stuff later or something.
I might have, yes, I might have forgotten to hit
come.
send on one of the
That's all
emails. But yes, and where can you see this exhibition?
Oh, yeah,
So-
sorry.
Yes, we're getting into that. Yes. We have me and Ian have been and William Afros have been collaborating on an installation called Photonic Flux at Flux Galleries. It's at 512 East 15th Street, and it is open this weekend from 12 today from 12 to 9, and then tomorrow from 12 to 9, and also the next 2 weekends till St. Patrick's Day is the last day. You can go see it. So, yes. So please come. You'll have to buy tickets. We'll tell you more about it throughout this talk, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Yeah, I did not think about the favorite color question derailing us, but here we are.
So, like, on the favorite, go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah,
Sorry.
I actually just got my wheels turning because, you know, when you think about light and the spectrum of color within white light or in light in general, it's just an automatic, intriguing thing to think about. I don't know if I can speak for you guys if you feel the same way with light and how it diffuses and how it hits something. It's very primal. So I don't think it derailed. I think it just probably got all of us like thinking about our medium and getting ready to like get excited about it.
Yeah.
When we were early on in the process of putting our show together, we were like, so what color is this thing? It's going to be white, and then we're going to change the colors every other day. So, you know, you'll walk in tonight, it's blue, tomorrow it's red, you know, whatever. So everything's white, and then it becomes what we want it to be.
See, and that's so interesting because I think when I use light, I tend to be um, very like specific with staying in like white or like warm tones of amber or
Sure,
things
yeah.
like in that realm. And so I have used color, and it's something that I've explored. But I just think it's so interesting, even when we're talking about light as a medium, just the different versatility and how we would channel that into our work. You know.
I love how you do use the warm tones in your work because it's very natural and like I've been following you for a very long time. Sorry to be a stalker, but it's like
Oh, that's so nice.
but I remember like when you know you did the snails with Joel and
Yeah.
just seeing how those and then some of the work in the over in the Whitewater Center and
Yeah.
everything and just how like it's obviously an installation and it's created, but it feels so like it blends so well. It's not if you put neon purple out there, it's not the same. It's but that warm white is just it's perfect.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I have used color, um, but it tends to be in very like small moments.
Yeah.
And I think because background, I create large scale installations and I use typically like over 100 objects in my work. And so I think when you're using color with that at that scale, it's really intense and it can be really intense. So when I choose to use it, I have to be very specific about it for myself, I guess.
No, it's
you know.
for sure, for sure.
No, that makes sense, especially because of how much space you're using. Like you do have to be kind to that, or I guess more mindful, honestly.
And to me, the space dictates that.
Right.
You know, when you're in a natural space. Yes, I have done a hot pink cocoon hanging from a tree. Uh, and in my brain, it was like burned into the back of my eyelids, like it needs to be hot pink. However, when I'm doing hundreds of objects, there's something about color being very emotional. And I'm sure that you all, I would think, would probably speak to that with the reason that you're changing color
Oh,
through.
yeah.
So I'd love to like
Oh, yeah.
pivot over to that. Tell them about that.
Yes, and I think what we're doing is we're using color, or we're using light as the color
Mhm.
versus, yeah, color in the sculpture. Which if
Yeah.
you make a hot pink cocoon, then you have to think about maybe you use a bright white light or LED inside of it versus like using the color as light. So yeah, just the kind of it's a dance between
Yeah.
the making and the light for sure. And I'm sure if you used um, a green light inside of that pink cocoon, it would change the color of it completely.
And I actually used a pink light. I should have
Yeah.
specified.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
so use a pink light in the
Yeah,
cocoon.
yeah.
Yes, to make
I
it even
use
more
so I
saturated.
can control the
Yeah.
hue and things like that. So I agree with you. When you're thinking about the way which you guys do, like even the materials you identify, how the light's going to diffuse through it, what you want that to look like. Does that cross your mind like when you're collaborating on things?
No, I
No.
like it. Like, please, no, do it. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Do-
I'm sorry.
You're in the zone. You got this. Yeah.
So, I saw one of the photos pop up a second ago, but we talking about the material, we got really lucky. So yeah, this one, the Easter egg right here. We did this for Charlotte Shout last year, and we made these hexagons that were faceted and then sprayed silver. And the way that they captured and just bounced the light around was really, really interesting. And it gave it kind of a lot of depth, a lot of sort almost a holographic psychedelic effect.
I kept
That,
thinking that this was see-through.
no, yeah, it's completely, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I was
It's
like
it's
really
a
jealous. I was like, how did he do that?
it's a cursed cupcake tin. It's you could do it with aluminum foil. But and I struggle to pick like one picture of it because of how much variety you can get with that, just faceting and how the light's gonna hit from this angle and this angle. It's mesmerizing. Um, but yeah, but again, it goes back to that we're using silver to really reflect and get the really bright light off that one. Some of the other work where we want that calmer, more diffuse, we're using a flat white paint to just let it even out and go a little bit further. So it's critical. Yeah, I think that's the question.
Oh, absolutely critical. And I know in particular, Rebecca, your MFA graduation exhibition,
Yeah.
you had this um, multifaceted, literally sculpture hanging from the ceiling, or
Yes.
um, yeah, and then there was different projections on every single sliver, if you will, of the wall. And
Yes.
I've never thought of using sculpture and light in that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what Ian is doing in this piece here is he's looking at the planes of the 3D printed, and that's what I'm doing with my sculptures. I was looking at the different planes and how to project on the different planes of sculptures. And what amazes me about projection mapping is you can change the shape of a video to any shape that you want. And when I learned this, I blew my mind, and I was so excited to learn more about it. And so I call it collaging with video. The fact that you could I was like, wait a minute, I can have multiple videos coming out of a projector at once, and then I can have them playing at the same time, and I can change this one to a triangle, and this one to a circle, and this one can be an organic shape. And so it's really been intriguing to me how that can happen. And so, yeah, so looking at that, thinking of how you can make a sculpture come to life with a different plane of it is really, really interesting. Yeah.
And on that note of your MFA exhibition, would you all please answer if and where you did go to school, and it doesn't have to be in art. But yeah, if you had the luxury of that.
Yeah, I went to school. I got my Master's of Fine Arts at Winthrop University. I got my BA at Xavier University up in Cincinnati, Ohio, where I'm originally from. And when I went and did my Master's at Winthrop, that program at the time was more open to exploring whatever concentration you wanted to explore. And I went in there as a painter. Well, their painting program, I originally wanted to be a painter. As my background, I was an oil painter before I was doing any of this stuff. And I found that their program wasn't as robust as I needed at the time. And so I had to pivot. And by doing that, it was the best thing I've ever done because I had to explore other realms of material. And the sculpture program is really strong at Winthrop University. So I started getting into sculpture. I always thought sculpture was a weakness of mine. And then as soon as I started exploring it more, and then I know video was a weakness of mine, my transition from sculpture and painting, or from painting to sculpture and video, was I wanted to make a moving painting. Um, so I took videos of things in nature, like rain, fountains, moving grass, and things like that, and I edited the crap out of them to make them abstract, so you couldn't really tell what it was before. So it's just like down to like color and moving shapes. And so I wanted to project onto a canvas or space where it looked like it was a moving abstract colors. And so that was kind of like my transition to video. And yeah, I just that's where I explored that was at Winthrop University.
Um, my educational background was a little bit of a cul-de-sac for a minute there. I got my BFA in sculpture at University of South Carolina. The intention was to go get a master's in architecture, but then I decided I enjoyed making money more than I enjoyed accruing student debt. Um, well, just wait, it gets worse. Um, however, 10 years later, though, during the pandemic, I was like, well, that didn't work out. So I am currently at CPCC working on my bachelor's of mechanical engineering because I hit the ceiling professionally, and I was like, I'm either going to do it now or I'm going to die not doing it. So it'll take me 10 years to get my second degree, and that's okay. So thank you.
I have a studio art degree from UNC Wilmington, and I maybe someday will get my master's. It's always been a goal of mine, and then I end up working in working. So I'm enjoying that process right now and being. But when I was in school many moons ago, I started working with lighting even then, and so I was taking sculpture classes, and I did a lot of independent studies. My professors were really supportive of that, so I started just every sculpture I made, I was already it needed to be in my brain. So from that point, very foundationally, I was using translucent materials, and at the time, it was like incandescent, like rope lighting, because that's what I could afford um, to explore that, and then from
It's immersive.
Oh, it's got a little red light right now.
Oh, I don't think mine's on either.
Check.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I did forget my train of thought, but that's okay.
Real fast for anybody listening, we do a lot of technology, and this is exactly what it's like.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah. No, this would be.
Anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah. So Chad Cartwright helps me think. Well, he really thinks of the title for the artist talk. And I'm like, it's just lights, like lights, lights, lights. Like that's all I can think of. So he actually came up with the title, Dancing with Technology and Light, which I thought was like a lovely like combo for all of y'all. Um, Becca touched on this slightly, but I would also love if we would circle back. Where are you from, and like was art like in the household? Like, was it encouraged at all, or was it maybe just like leave it in the basement? What's the story?
So I'll finish that. So I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I moved down here in 2013. So I've been here 11 years almost. To teach art down here. And when I growing up, art was encouraged. I think I remember the first time that my parents realized I was even good at art was when I went to my grandparents' house and I was drawing the birds out of my grandparents' bird book. I'm like, you drew that? So that once they started realizing uh, that talent, they encouraged it, and I was encouraged to. I probably wouldn't have gone to Xavier University if it wasn't for my mom, because she was the one that kind of encouraged me to apply for a scholarship there. So I used my scholarship in art there at Xavier, and it's just been great. My parents love me. They encourage me to do art, but they sometimes don't understand it, especially when it comes to this work that we do. My mom is just like, I want you to go back to painting. Paint me something pretty. And I'm like, yeah, I can, but they just, but they love it. They see this and they see what I'm doing and they love it and think it's great. Might not completely understand, but it's always encouraged. Yeah.
So my mom is in the crowd, so yes, my childhood was perfect and flawless. Um, but I'm very fortunate. My mom did encourage me and did her best to steer me into some areas. I was thinking about this the other night where very early on I was like into like the blueprints and engineering side of things. And she's like, okay, but you're very artistic, so why don't you go over here and play with the colors? Um, and trying to navigate the, those two things, the engineering and the art. And I think that it's now starting to that we're finally in a world where that is uh, you know that's an option, I think, or more of an option or something. Um, so yeah, very very fortunate. Thanks, Mom. I appreciate you. Oh, there was a second.
Where are you from?
Yeah, sorry. Hi. I am from Columbia, South Carolina. You know where that
South, right?
in theory.
Um, well, I was born, we actually have a Cincinnati connection. So I was born in Cincinnati, and I grew up in northern Kentucky, like just across the bridge, like mucking around in Creek.
Was it
And
Covington? Or was
yes,
that- okay.
yep. Um, mucking around in creeks. I was definitely like the swamp kid. Like I was outside constantly barefooted, catching things all the time. And then I mean it's true, and it makes so much sense with what I do and like what inspires me that I think I'm just constantly like driving back that like urge to do that. So that also my mom had a kiln, and so we did a lot of like craft based processes. We would weave with baskets and cane. My mom we did pinch pot. She was really good about that. So it's interesting to me. My grandmother taught me to sew. All of those processes um, I have explored in a contemporary way in my work, and it's taken years to kind of like look back and kind of pinpoint how that happened. So I find that really interesting. Like I was, weaving lighting with an armature or something I encased, or I don't think when my grandmother taught me to sew, she imagined me sewing something out of ripstop fabric that was gonna be, 40 feet up in a tree. But all of those processes were foundational and integrated into what I do. And that, paired with like my love of science, my dad worked for Fish and Wildlife before he went into sales. So he was big into biology and chemistry, and like I was the kid that at 12 I had a microscope and was like getting water specimen samples and like looking at them. And I think to think back to that, I'm like, what did I love about it? Oh, it was the light coming through, looking at these things, like this other world. So I do my installations, and I also do my two-dimensional work, and all of that is part of it. It's all interwoven into. And so I moved to North Carolina. I forgot about the part. Moved to North Carolina when I was 10, and then made my way through college and landed in Charlotte. I fell in love with my husband and wanted to live in a bigger place with more art opportunities. And
Yeah, I think I've been here 2015 myself, whatever math that is. Yeah, Ian, how long have you been here?
14. Yeah. I was 10 years this June, July. Basically. Yeah.
It's right. It's so rare to meet actual natives. Uh, yeah, yeah. There's only one that I know of in the
Yeah.
audience right now. Where I said, like, yes, there's two, maybe there's two. All right, there's two natives in this current room. Thank you,
Thank you.
Transplant, for being here. Yeah. Oh, um, uh, one of you mentioned this in Freeman, I can't remember right now, but so as a painter, there is this internal struggle, not quite schizophrenic, but there's a conversation you have with someone. Um, and it just ebb and flow, and like maybe sometimes, like, oh, this is going great, and then they make one move or one mark, and you're like, just okay, like I just try again tomorrow. What is the internal dialogue like as you're creating? Yeah, similar? Is it?
So this has been an interesting one for me
Yeah.
recently, and uh, with the engineering background and the architecture background, and it's like I'm gonna plan, and then it's just gonna happen. And generally, there's ins and outs to it, but the dialogue is very much okay. I need to build this thing. That said, I would say over the past year, 2 years, there's definitely been um, a shift in focus to some of those conversations, where it's like, okay, we want, if somebody comes up and says, yeah, we want a commemorative something, it's like, okay, I can do this, respond to the prompt and build it. But then, you have projects like this where, with the Flux, where it's like, okay, here's a room, do something. It's like, oh, y'all want to see what I, not just how I respond to something, but and that's been frankly terrifying. But also, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's interesting, but it's given me an opportunity to really reflect on some of those questions that like I kind of took for granted when I was in art school. Where, he's like, okay, but how does this make you feel? And I'm like, it's a piece of metal, whatever. But having that shift of what do I value? What do I want to bring to the table? How do I want to what what can I hope that people will take? Because I know that even though months and months and months of planning, I want them to feel anything, and so I'm going to do X, Y, Z. It's not gonna. Y'all are unknown variables, so figure your shit out, please. Excuse me, sorry. Um,
Cursing's allowed.
I love the way you articulated that. 'Cause it was very like project based, and I find that really interesting. You're like the unknown variable, and that
yeah.
is, I mean, I think it's
Y'all
such
are
a really like
terrifying.
interesting definition of a viewer, like of
Yeah.
a viewer. And I think that for me, not to, and
No,
I'm
no,
done
go,
with
go,
your,
go,
because
go.
I don't,
I love.
yeah. I think for me, that's something that I think about a lot is the balance between the process and then when I put it out into the world. And I typically call when it's installed, I call it like my release, like I release it. Um, During the process, I'm thinking about a lot of different things. Sometimes it's like, oh gosh, I forgot to take food out of the oven to thaw, and then it'll pivot to like, what is my intention for this piece, and what do I really want um, to gain from this for myself? If no one else is looking at this, will I be happy with this? Is this impactful for me? And I don't want that to sound selfish. That's not where it's coming from. I think it's coming from a place of staying true to the vision and the intention. And I think by doing so, once I release that, then there's opportunity for each individual to have their own experience with it. I can hope, just like you were saying, I align with that. I can hope and dream, and I can design things in a way that perhaps calls someone's eyes over. And at that point, it's really their own experience. And I would never want to limit that. Um, However, it's the dance, right? Between designing with intention for self and for others without getting variants off the line, someone different. Okay. Like, it's like a hard moment. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah.
One of the one, no, sorry. One of the things that has been really interesting over the past year is the scale of our pieces has exponentially increased, and to me that creates sort of a stress where not not to say anything, but it's like if you're doing a painting, maybe it's this big, maybe it's this big, but you can limit the scope of it to a degree. And as the pieces get larger, I think many people would kind of feel feel this like uh the stakes get high, and so if I'm building a $10,000 or $50,000 whatever piece, like, and it's gonna be 20 feet tall or 10 feet tall, it's big. Um, Hopefully it's going to attract more people, and then hopefully it kind of gets into like the weird economic, like the less fun side of art to me, other than the just like I had a thought and I've just completely gone off
It'll
it.
come back.
But it all boils down to the stakes, where it's like if I'm doing something small, the stakes are low. If I'm doing something large, the stakes are high. And as the pieces have increased in their complexity and their size and their pitches, we hope that we are continuing to achieve those. Do I want something? I want y'all to like the thing that's this big. I want y'all to like the thing that's this big. Um, and that becomes a very interesting way to respond.
So going back to the question of doing the internal sort of process that I have when I look at my work, I I work a lot off of my intuition. So I respond a lot to the work. So um, right now with the project that he and I have been working on, Photonic Flux, I've been doing a lot of that. It's like building, responding. But I have been loving working with Ian and William, these two, because of their engineering brain. Like Ian said, he's the planner. He goes through all the things. I'm not as much of a planner. I'm a responder. I'm intuitive. I have an idea of something, and then I kind of respond to it, and then sort of the idea of why it came out came later. I do some planning in my work, but it's not forefront. And so I realize I didn't tell you this, but I think we started the past few days. We've been switching roles a little bit. I've been very much like particular in planning about this needs to be here and this needs to go this way, and Ian's kind of been like, okay, we're just gonna throw it up there and do it. And so it's been really, really interesting to work with someone that has that opposite sort of.
I mean, absolutely, because like for me personally, like the planning happened in December. Like I'm done. Like it is what it is at this point. And so it's like I frankly I'm not very fast on my feet, like thinking wise. So shoot, it's gonna fall over. I get out of the way. Like there's not much else to do. So meanwhile, Rebecca, who is very very intuitive, very responsive, she's she's darting everywhere. She's like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And, she's looking at something, she's figuring it out, and she's moving. Meanwhile, I'm like, I've got a piece of paper somewhere in my book bag that had some numbers on it, and if we don't follow that, well, I'm out. So
I feel like I have that push pull like tug of war between those two like archetypes in my own like process in general. Like I'm definitely very type A. Like I like my list, my project management, my measurements, and then it's like that intuitive piece that pulls you back to the process of like why you. And so I definitely relate to like both of you in that way. And I think it's probably interesting collaborating because certain things come out at different times, right? Like it seems like you guys do a good job collaborating.
she keeps us.
I recommend collaborating between artists, anybody. I've marked in the audience, we've been collaborating with something the past year, and it's been awesome. You just learn, and collaborations can be hard because there's conflict involved. There can be, but you learn how each other works, and just be open to changing your own style of working, and it will work. So and magic happens.
And we do unfortunately have one last question from our list before we get into the audience questions in order to respect time. But and maybe this is, I don't think it's redundant, but how do you get like playful with your process? Yeah. How does that happen? Because there's so much math and planning and just goodness, like planning. How do you? When does that get to happen? Like not just collaboration, but
I've been working on I have different types of projects. So I've got permanent projects that are in process, and I have temporary activation, two-dimensional practice. So I think um, with each kind of iteration of the, I guess, facets of my work, there's different places for play. And I think if I didn't have that, I think it's kind of like what's the point of doing what I'm doing? Um, so I think with the permanent projects, they're sometimes like I've got one right now that we're like a year and a half. So the play comes in phases, like the different design phases, being like, all right, well, like let me think. I actually think play is also for me solving a problem. Like there, right? Like so, if you're like the technical side, like I love like the engineering side of my work. I love calculating like amperage and lumens and voltage and all that. So like that's playful, even though it's very like
That's a puzzle.
regimented. Yeah.
Puzzle for play.
And then there's also the play of like the research and the drawing and like the design. So that's so I find play there. And then I also have work that just aside from my projects that I work on for myself, like outside of what I'm doing, whether it's my temporary or those other things, or just in my studio where I literally just like get messy like a kid and play with different materials. And I think that that's what helps inspire my work because I am very like material and tactile based. So I think for me, it's making sure that I'm constantly like working, but not working as in like it's work. Like
Right.
it's working as
Creative.
discovering.
Yeah.
Discovering and just getting very in some way.
Yeah, going off of that working process, so it's when you build large scale installations or do something like that, it's a huge process, and there's all you have to have all these little celebrations in between.
Yes.
So that's when I play is when you plan, you work on something, and you have those little celebrations, things coming together. That's the playful part. Like once it's like, oh my gosh, yes, it's working. That's when you can sort of have that moment.
I'm gonna interrupt. There was this we used to be studio mates at one point, Rebecca and I, and I'll never forget there was this one day, it couldn't be had to be before COVID.
Oh yeah.
But she came
Oh.
in and she was like, I have to make something. I just have to make something. And she started playing with these um foam rigid like sound pieces.
Yeah.
And then she eventually made a helmet. She's like, I don't know. Like it's gonna be cool. And I was like, that's absolutely cool. It was this whole like back and forth and then eventually turned into Blockhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was supposed to be a huge installation, interactive installation before when COVID happened, and then it never actually came to fruition. But I'm planning on bringing it back at some
Yes.
point. Yes.
Yes.
But yes, I that feeling of just having to create something. Gotta listen to those, and because something's telling you something's gonna come out of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely
For me, using the word play in engineering, it's Legos. One of my personal favorite parts of any of the bigger projects here is literally just going through the catalog of parts and being like, okay, I'm going to use these, and they're all fit together, and then it's just gonna like happen, right? But also like playing with the geometry of the shapes and stuff like that. William knows that there are so many times where I will like start with a shape and it'll be kind of like very boring, and we'll both look at it and we'll be like, that's not it yet. And so it's like, let's make it more complicated. Let's make it more organic. Let's tilt it. Let's change the angle of it and stuff. And it's like, okay, well we've gone from one piece to 5,000 pieces just by that. So how do we do that? Okay, I'm gonna go draw individual parts for the next three, and then we're gonna come up with a way to number them, organize them, uh, assemble them, or something like that. But it's very much like Legos, where it's like you get your blocks, you get your parts, and you build something. And that's what.
One more thing that I thought of is like we all work in space, and I think that but I was thinking about it, I'm like, what really like ignites it for me is doing the like illumination test in my studio. Like when
we all get so excited about light.
I'm just like
when we talk about it and we see light, it just gets us like giddy.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, but like if I'm playing with something, I mean, and I'm playing with a material and I'm like, okay, I wonder how this is gonna diffuse or how this might interact. I think that is like one of my favorite things and favorite moments, no matter what phase of a project I'm in, is like turning all the lights off or I do a lot of night tests, which is something like a lot of people don't realize like how much we have to work at night before something opens. Um, but just that moment when you can just start to see like a sliver of life come through that. So
We were building large parts of our thing in this dirty abandoned warehouse that doesn't have power or water. And so we literally had we literally had like a battery pack with a string of LEDs just so that we could like uh it's cardboard, it's dirty, it's cold, we're tired, but we can throw this up in there and see like, oh, this is gonna look so cool eventually.
I mean, I've done things outside where it's like we're having to even look at things during the day, and we have like my team and I like have tarps, and I'm like under there, like I can see it, you know. It's just it's you do what you have to do, but I think those again, like those moments, I think it's just that again connection back to why I end up using that as a material, is sheer like primal joy that I experience every time that comes through, and like so I think that's like the play that I get about it.
Thank you all so much. To our audience, we are open to questions. You can take them. There's a mic right over here. If you feel like it. Yes. Oh,
I think for the
thank you.
For the people who aren't here.
Yeah. Also, for those that couldn't make it and you want to spread the word, this is being live streamed and will be on our YouTube channel. That's for rapidcenter.com.
One thing that I love about all of them is how big you think and that you don't hold back. So I want to know what's up next for you guys. Well, I know you something's cooking that's exciting. Can you share it? That
I'm gonna go first because mine's easy. I am going to take a nap. Uh, and then after that, I'm going on sabbatical for a few, or for at least a month or something. Yeah,
a few years.
for those of you who don't like know us, not to toot my own horn or anything, but straight up, we've been going incredibly hard and exponential growth over the past 365 days, and this is the largest thing we've ever done, and that means the next largest thing is possibly, I don't know, like an island nation or something, and I need a break before we do that.
Rest is important.
These these installations, they take months. Like I said, this idea, meaning for Photonic Flux, is our project is happening right now, which I hope you all can see. The idea to make this happen started last summer. And then we started actually planning last December. And so now it's March. And it takes months to build this one thing. It's only up for temporary medicine. And so you have to have a lot of rest and a lot of planning beforehand. So it's almost like you can't have, like, I can't just turn around tomorrow and have like another huge installation. But
It stressed me out.
it's stressful, except we kind of are, because I know both me and Ian have an installation that's going up for Charlotte Shout. I'll let him talk about that, but mine is going to be a projection installation in the green space that'll be interactive, and then and then I'll have my projection from last year's Shout on display at Art Field, and then hopefully just more and more projection stuff. I love just projecting so much that I like to do projection pop-ups in the summertime. Just go outside and project on random things. Wait for someone to stop me. Yeah, including trailers. So yeah, Mark is in the audience. Mark Stepker and I will be probably trailing around with the car this summer if he's still. And
You're welcome to project on the Robin Center anytime.
yes, and we maybe
Hint,
here.
hint.
I think he's trying to tell you something.
So yeah, I just like to light things up and bring it to life for sure.
Oh, real fast. We are actually our friend Pam, which I'm sure all of you know. She's doing an incredible crochet project for Shout as well, and we're helping her with that. And then I'm taking a nap. Really?
Yeah.
Pam?
So I'm going out of town next week, installing over 100 illuminated mushroom forms in Lancaster, South Carolina. as part of their plein air festival. This is really exciting because it's one of the first times they've had an outdoor interactive installation, which I'm really, really passionate about bringing immersive art to communities that wouldn't normally have access to that or just starting that process. So really, really excited about that. And then in May, I have an opening at the Work County Culture and Heritage Museum, and that will be again over 100 objects. It's actually an indoor installation, so I've been playing with like going back inside a little bit, but the idea of bringing nature in. And so that will be on view from May to November. And then I'm also working on two permanent projects right now. One will be at Mint Hill. It's a Parks and Rec project through the county based off of butterfly segments and wing segments, and also a project that will open in South End this year that is inspired by the movie Water. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be in like a drive-through kind of tunnel space. So really, just really grateful and excited to be working like this, and hope you guys can check it out or come down to York County or whatever.
We're all very, very busy. Yeah.
I need a nap too.
Right.
I also have a 6-month-old, so we're just
Definitely
sleep
need a
is
nap.
just when it happens.
We do have an audience question.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. It's not so much a question, it's just to like, I am so in love with each of you guys, and I'm so proud of you all for what you do, but not just for each of the beautiful masterpieces that you bring to life, but for the way that you pour into each other, that you pour into community. There have been many moments that I feel and seeing you guys keep collaborating with each other and like bringing community together through different shows. You're gonna make me cry. I love you guys. Um, I want to say more. I'm very excited to see all the things you guys are bringing to life, and like with so many loving humans in our art community that are in the crowd. Like, yeah, thank you for doing what you do. And
Thank you, though.
Oh, Sid.
you are you beautiful people. Yeah, this artist talk, this art panel, is, um, yeah, it's really, really together.
Thank you.
I want to say something really fast for piggybacking off what Sydney said. Something that I always talk about, especially it's more quiet, like with my team or artists that work with me, is like that I feel like it's really important to put people before the work. It's something that like foundationally I believe in, and I think that is really important, like in our on our team dynamics, but also like in terms of like community. And so I think for me, like pun intended, we all work in light and bringing like using art as a catalyst to build community and bring people play and interaction. I think it's really important. It's a calling for me as to you guys. I'm assuming it probably is. So if there's anything like I can do to support any of you in this room, like let's chat after here. And I just think it's great that we can keep making and supporting.
We're here to help.
That I can so I've politely stalked Meredith for a few years now. And it's kind of like being in a room of celebrities with artists, right? It's like, oh, you're so cool.
Right?
We'd love to
Real
show
sense.
you. No, but when I first met you in person was for the Unbound exhibition that you curated. Um, yeah, no big deal. Yeah. No, but I so like I had this opportunity to meet someone who I idolize, and I was like, oh my god, like I'm dork, like it's gonna be weird, I'm gonna be so awkward. And you're like, hi, how's it going? I was like, I'm just going great.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to like accept.
It's hard.
It's like it's like when you're I'm just me.
Which is
I
like the
work
best part.
really like I mean I'm a dork. Like I think that when I hear like that someone admires me, thank you, but also like I'm pretty low key, really approachable. I
100%.
I also like work through jobs in college and all kinds of stuff. I've done all the things. Let's hang out. Let's
Yeah.
make a new friend.
Heck yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Any other audience questions? Or you got to know. On that note, on that note,
I have one. I
yep.
have one. So to the panel, um, your relationship with Charlotte is kind of different because you're not from Charlotte. So you're seeing it from a different perspective. What's your vision for the future of the arts here in Charlotte?
Okay. So I've been in Charlotte for 11 years, so I'm not from Charlotte. Those of you who are natives have seen the tremendous change that I can't even imagine Charlotte's gone through. And so just the change that I've seen since I've been here, I have seen a growth in collaboration of artists and artists coming together. Before COVID, I think COVID kind of brought a lot of artists together. Before COVID, I saw the divide between different sections of different artists, and like now it is such a supportive community. I think Charlotte could be a place on the map of where artists go to get support, to collaborate with other artists. I really see artists as a creative city versus a banking city, or have them be in tandem with each other. Um, so yeah, I really see that in Charlotte's future with the direction that we are going, and as all artists collaborating and supporting each other. So
Um, y'all aren't even ready for this. Okay, so uh, back before the pandemic, I was very much in engineering. Like, yeah, I had a sculpture major and I wasn't doing anything with it. Then I think it was I think it was Charlotte Shout, like one of those festival sort of things. I went to it. It was fun. Um, and no offense to anybody, but then I was like, okay, all the big interesting stuff is like from other places.
Word.
It's from Canada, it's from Mexico. Those are very talented, interesting artists. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, we got this here. We got this at home. Like so, we
Yes,
I
yes.
kind of like
Thank you for saying that.
right.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the push for me to like switch gears from doing the very like art engineering stuff to being like, I know we've got creative people
Yeah.
here. Like, how can I help them light some cool shit up and stuff? And how do we how can we facilitate this? Like, and how can we like have the next big thing come from us, not be brought to us? So,
I completely agree with that, and I think that that's something that like I hope and wish and advocate for. I think the other piece of that is when you think, if we talk about Charlotte being a banking city and a creative city, and I think it's like a both and economically, we need to pour back into our creative community so that we can continue supporting like other fabricators, other artists, or it's an important thing. We're supporting small businesses by doing that from that side of it. The other side of it is we're actually what I think in involved in a very historical movement in our community in Charlotte because we're growing exponentially. We as artists here have the opportunity to direct what that foundation is like for the future. I think you think about like large big cities like LA and New York, and they've been rooted in the arts for a very long time, and now with more people coming in and all the amazing artists that have been here from the start that are Charlotte natives, we have the opportunity to weave something that that kind of defines what it is, and I think we're in the midst of that. And so being able to have like a humble opportunity to be a small piece of that, like I take it very seriously. I take that humbly, and my hope is that by doing so, and it sounds like we're all there, is like that community piece needs to be present and ever present as we continue growing because I think it's the most important part of us being a successful creative space.
how many? I know it's just curious. Like, how many of y'all went to Logan Street? Like
Several
over at the Mint Museum. That was really really cool because like sorry to go on a tangent real fast, but it's like what Carla did over there with them, bringing people like you open a door and there's a creative in the city. Like you pull up the carpet, there's a creative, and it's like they're everywhere. But it's like how do we create space for it. And I think she's done an incredible job of making that happen and bringing people, giving them the platform. There's so many people around here, and it's so easy to get drowned in the banking bros stuff like that, which we still need them. They have their place. It's just it's over there. So, but
They need to buy our art.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
Who
okay
loves
with
the
the
money?
I'm okay with the
Sorry.
banking bros, and I think like that's the thing. I think art is what connects people, and from my perspective, the more we and that's why I love taking. So I worked in a museum for a period of time. Like I think that one of the reasons I love bringing art beyond walls is because putting it in places where people aren't necessarily seeking art. It's perhaps their first point of contact or their first artistic experience, and then you have the opportunity for them to continue that. So I think the more we can work together and to build community around the arts foundationally, the better. And I think that some of that also comes to us working together as artists and creative individuals to advocate for bigger projects going to local artists. Um, and non-traditional artists because like I thought about like I was an installation artist through and through. I am. When I was in college, it was really, really hard to find a space to show my work and to make a living. And I self-funded it for 10 years. Like when I think about the artists that are in that space now, that like the younger me, for instance, I'm like we have to do better and we have to give them opportunities so that they can continue growing. So apparently now we're all gone. I'm on my soapbox now,
We're
guys.
getting
Like, this just got serious.
I'm like, did we
Yeah.
just get started? We're gonna just do a second talk, I guess.
Yeah,
Yes,
next time.
we're really getting there. There's like the Made in CLT. There's
Yeah.
artists. There's places where you can get your name out there.
Yes.
So whether it's a placemaking program, there's a lot of grant opportunities. More and more people apply to these or involved. We become in demand. More will happen. Don't be afraid to talk to developers or business owners and be
Right.
like, hey, it'd be really cool. If I had my paintings in here, if you need a mural, and like start talking to people, big developers, bankers. As artists, we are not just artists. We're business owners. We're consultants. We're all the things that we know. So, um, yeah, and let's try to like it. So guys, we got this. It's
Go
easier
team.
together.
And if there's something that you feel like you need to grow in an area of point of growth, or you want support figuring out how to get some grant funding, or there's workshops, there are other like reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out to another artist to ask a question. So I think that's the other thing. Like that's community building too. Again, we're stronger together.
Yeah, thank you all so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
having
guys
us.
for coming.
Oh, and please, if you feel kind, please make a donation to the Baba Center. We deeply appreciate it. There's also a food truck out front. Smash Patty, delicious burgers, highly recommend. And then we also have performances at 4 p.m. So if you feel like sticking around, please do. We have some great lineups. Blues Rogers, Laren from Soul Jukebox, Kenya Templeton. She's actually bending in the back over there, and I do not remember the fourth. I do apologize for that. But yes, please come back at 4 and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
If you guys want to come to Photonic Flux and you haven't already, the link to get tickets is in Super Daft Rose and Rebecca Lips bio. Just plug it in there.
Come see awesome stuff.